We have to touch on the absolute beauty that was the Dalek singing. I mean, look.
We are the Daleks and it's awesome. We are very naughty and we like to do wrong.
What was the need? I love this story. Jubilee. Not the Queen's Jubilee, she's dead. But the Big Finish story Jubilee, featuring Colin Baker's 6th Doctor and of course, the Daleks. This is supposedly a story for the ages, but is that really the case? Well, to find out on your behalf, I spent £2.99 and sat through 2.5 hours of audio Doctor Who, so you don't have to. Subscribe, by the way, it's free and instantly refundable if I turn out to be shit. The story starts with a trailer for Daleks, the Ultimate Adventure. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was very confused and fell for this bluff, believing it to be an actual Big Finish. The Dalek shouting "Scarpa, Scarpa" had me a tad more confused, as did the obvious recast of the Doctor, but I brushed it off as an Easter egg and nothing related to the story. Oh, how I was wrong. Written by Robert Shearman, yes, the guy who wrote Dalek, this episode opens following the trailer and of course the... taking us on an adventure with the 6th Doctor and his companion, Evelyn. She's a historian. After a timey-wimey mishap with the Doctor and Evelyn splitting into two, one group in the present of the story and the other pair in the past, but each thinking they're in the present. I know it's confusing, but it's Doctor Who. The duo in the past helped the British Empire defeat a Dalek invasion, which sends ripples through time, leading to the reclaiming of America, new technology and Dalek merch. No, seriously, a crazy amount of Dalek merch. This story has lots of twists. Obviously we have big ones like the Doctor in the cell with his legs cut off, but also twists in our characters. The fake out First Lady, planning to save the Dalek, to save her husband, the President of the Empire. Even he himself is aware of spies listening to everything he says and does. This story is brilliant with how it portrays the Daleks, through the merch and idolization of this evil creature. It's very much a social commentary on the Nazis in war films as per the trailer opening. The change and rewriting of our own history, films like Jojo Rabbit and even just old war films, portraying the Nazis as almost a commodity, the same as the Daleks, creatures representing evil just used over and over again as a blank slate for our hero to defeat. Now, obviously, we have to talk about the fact that this story is very closely tied to Dalek in many of the plot beats. Now, going into this, I thought it was actually going to be more similar, so I'm actually really happy it wasn't. The setting and time is different, the timey-wimey factor is new, and again, like I said, the character twists are great. Now, before we get into a detailed critique of the entire story, we first need to take a look back at what makes a good Dalek story. A good Dalek story in the context of the Doctor Who franchise is one that effectively captures the essence and history of the Daleks, while offering compelling storytelling, emotional engagement and thought-provoking themes. Here are some of the key elements that often contribute to a successful Dalek story. We're going to see if we can tick them off one by one and relate them back to Jubilee to help us create a detailed and justified critique. Dalek iconography and threats. A good Dalek story should showcase their iconic design and menacing presence. The Daleks are of course known for their distinctive appearance and chilling voice, so a visually striking representation is crucial. This story should also convey the Daleks as a significant threat to the universe, highlighting their ruthless nature and desire for conquest. Now, obviously, being a Big Finish audio story, we have to push the appearance factor aside, but one aspect which is completely and uniquely important here is voice, and what a fantastic voice these Daleks have.
The humans will stay here. Dalek, follow me. I obey. The Dalek Supreme has summoned you.
While all obviously sounding familiar, you can tell that each is different, making the prisoner and his commander easily identifiable, adding another level of originality to the story and just making the audience feel closer to the Dalek. I mean, we all know what the Daleks are, ruthless, killing monsters, yet we root for the people trying to help us escape. Furthermore, we have to touch on the absolute beauty that was the Dalek singing. I mean, look.
We are the Daleks and it's awesome. We are are very naughty and we like to do wrong.
What was the need? I love this story. Anyway, as said, another key part of their threat factor is their ineffable desire for conquest. Something that has a strong presence in this story, not just through the Daleks, but actually through the Daleks' influence on the British Empire. In the usual timeline that we live in, the British Empire's hunger for conquest diluted over the ages. But here, from the Daleks' influence onto them, they reclaim America and still have a strong desire for war and bloodshed. The story frequently explains and reminds us that death and war is a part of British culture, and that the people can't live without it, which is exactly the same as the Daleks. Factor 2 is the Doctor-Dalek conflict. The central conflict between the Doctor and the Daleks is the core element of any good Dalek story. The Doctor's personal history with these menacing foes and their antagonistic relationship create a dramatic backdrop that adds depth to the narrative. The story should explore the Doctor's moral dilemmas, his or hers determination to stop the Daleks, and the emotional toll that their encounters take. I don't think this needs overly explaining. Jubilee, and of course its later adaptation Dalek, portrays this joint Batman-Joker-esque dynamic fantastically. The two are tied in conflict, not just represented through the story, but even the lore within the world of said story. The movie is always showing the Daleks versus the Doctor and the Doctors versus the Daleks. The scenes from the Daleks' first interaction with the Doctor in the story and that world building point alone is more than enough justification to give this fact the tick it deserves.
Hello? Is there anybody in here? Who are you? I heard you cry out in pain. Can I help you? Speak to me! Oh no!
Doctor, you are an enemy of the Daleks. You are to be exterminated.
No, wait!
Exterminate! Exterminate!
Next up is innovation and reinvention. While staying true to the core characteristics of the Daleks, a good story should always find new and innovative ways to approach their portrayal. This could involve exploring different aspects of Dalek society, delving into their motivations, or introducing novel twists that challenge both the characters and the audience's expectations. And oh boy, does this story do that. We have singing Daleks, we have the captured Dalek going through emotional changes, and even just the basic premise of having a Dalek prisoner. The story completely deserved the tick for innovation and reinvention. Just listen to this and comment below if you think it feels like any other Dalek story we've had before, aside from Dalek of course, which is as said an adaptation.
Why did you prevent the woman's extermination? I do not know. You must know answer. Evelyn Smythe, she is the only one. Was the only. Explain. The only one left alive whom I could.
Tying into the clip and indeed the previous factor, the next one we have to examine and critique is moral and ethical themes. Many successful Dalek stories delve into complex and moral ethical questions. The Daleks' single-minded pursuit of extermination can serve as a backdrop for exploring themes such as consequences of hatred, the nature of identity, the price of war, and the potential for redemption. Well, this story is far from the single-minded approach for these creatures. I mean, again, from the clip above, the Dalek directly diverges from its usual status of a ruthless, heartless killing machine to a being that actually thinks and even feels. Factor 5. Character development. Introducing well-rounded characters who have personal stakes in the conflict can enhance the emotional impact of the story. Whether it's companions, allies, or even Dalek characters, their growth and struggles can add depth to the narrative, and Jubilee certainly does that. The Dalek, just as with the Metaltron in Rose, goes through its own twisted development, as does the Doctor with the legless incarnation's descent into madness. Robert Shearman is definitely my favourite Dalek writer. I love what Russell and Rayner did with the Cult of Skaro, characterising them all, but it is just done to perfection here and in Series 1. With the Dalek acting all confused, and you can just feel its brain moving like a human's. The twisted development from a stone-cold killer to a creature beginning to scratch the surface of the issues with its species makes for a great story, and just a very memorable character in its own right. When written as individual characters, the Daleks possess a multifaceted allure that defies their collective malevolence. Beneath their uniform exteriors lies a complex tapestry of ambitions, fears, and conflicting ideologies. These singular Dalek entities showcase a spectrum of emotion, from fanatical devotion to their doctrine of supremacy to moments of doubt and internal conflict. Unveiling their individuality allows us to peer into the abyss of their unique history, unearthing the scars of their evolution and remnants of a forgotten past. These glimpses into their unique psyches unveil a truth that even the most abhorrent of species can harbour depths that resonate with our own humanity, offering a chilling reminder that darkness often conceals the most captivating pieces of character. Factor 6, closer to 10 my fellow Whovians, pacing and action. A good Dalek story should obviously have a balance between intense action sequences and quieter character moments. The Daleks are known for their aggressive nature, so thrilling action scenes involving battles, escapes and confrontations can contribute to the story's excitement. And excitement and pacing is what this story does brilliantly. By splitting up characters and having them interact with different versions at different times, keeps the plot moving at all times. Together yet separate, the Doctor and Evelyn uncover the truth behind this mystery with the fate of the Dalek, the President and his wife, alongside the shady and temporal timey-wimey mess of the past. Another factor which we have already briefly touched on, so won't linger here too long unlike the Doctor in his cell, is world building. Creating a vivid and immersive world that reflects the Dalek-dominated universe or the aftermath of their actions can add depth to the story. This could involve exploring planets under Dalek control, resistance movements, or the aftermath of Dalek invasions. And I mean, this probably gets the biggest tick yet. The world building and lore is what makes Jubilee one of the most famous Dalek stories to be told in the show's now 60-year history. We see the aftermath of their influence on the human race, specifically the influence on the British Empire following the invasion. That's all I can say, is that the world building for Jubilee is near, if not actually perfect. Now for a fun one, and something which this story again has some fun with. Factor 8, Unpredictability. A strong Dalek story should keep the audience engaged and guessing. Unexpected plot twists, strategic maneuvers by both sides, and moments of tension and surprise can make the story more captivating. Now, I don't know if you've listened to Jubilee or not, but assuming that you have, then you already know that this one gets the go-ahead. While the story has several predictable moments with the benefit of hindsight through obviously watching Dalek years before listening to this, taking that away, this story truly is unpredictable. Aside from the much talked about character twists, the unpredictability of the Dalek and the Daleks' plans and motivations always have you on the edge of your seat. Same for the captive Doctor. Unpredictability is the lifeblood of a compelling Dalek story, infusing it with electrifying energy that keeps both characters and audience on the edge of their seats. The Daleks' relentless pursuit of conquest is mirrored by their uncanny ability to adapt, strategize, and surprise. In a narrative landscape defined by their constant threats, unpredictability becomes the conduit through which tension is amplified and suspense is heightened. The element of surprise not only challenges the Doctor and their allies to evolve their tactics, but also underscores the Daleks' underlying tenacity. Just as the Daleks' nature defies extinction, their penchant for unpredictability defies narrative conventions, ensuring that each encounter remains a battle of wits. As the story takes unforeseen twists and turns, unpredictability elevates the Daleks from mere villains to enigmatic forces that both fascinates and terrifies, reminding us that even in a universe of unknowns, some threats remain endlessly innovative. So close now. Factor 9. Narrative stakes. The story should establish clear stakes, showing what's at risk if the Daleks succeed their plans. The consequences of failure should be significant, raising the tension and urgency. Tick, tick, tick. The threat of the Daleks is what raises this story to greatness. The underlying fear that the Daleks are better than the British Empire, even through the President's and the Empire's constant show of force and belittlement to his people, his wife and his allies, they all share the same deep-rooted fear and acknowledgement that this creature is infinitely more powerful than them. To me, this is why they have kept the Dalek captive for so long, a strange yet interesting dilemma and dynamic of control over the creature. But when killed, that reminder of force is gone, only leaving the acknowledgement that the only way to total victory was total destruction of the Daleks, making them somehow an even scarier force when dead rather than when captured. Now before we get into our final factor for what makes the perfect Dalek story, let's see how far we've come. Now, this video promised you a review of Jubilee, and that's what you've got. But I didn't stop there. Just for you, I over-delivered, showing you the 10 necessities for a perfect Dalek story. So if you could be so kind to subscribe and maybe like. After all, I have over-delivered, and it's free and instantly refundable at any time. Then again, if you don't want to, no hard feelings. So then, 9 factors and days of editing later, we have arrived at factor 10. Resolution and consequences. The resolution of the story should be satisfying and meaningful. Whether the Daleks are defeated, outwitted, or temporarily halted, the aftermath of the conflict and its impact on the characters and universe should be explored. Tick. Overall, Jubilee masterfully weaves unexpected narrative threads that challenge the Doctor's principles and the audience's expectations. The story's unpredictability mirrors the Daleks' own penchant for strategic surprise, fostering a gripping atmosphere that showcases both their malevolence and their capacity for individuality. Jubilee stands as a testament to the enduring appeal of the Daleks as villains and the storytelling prowess of Doctor Who, and indeed the history of media, delivering a thought-provoking exploration of the consequences of hatred and the power of choice in the face of insurmountable odds. Through ranking each factor out of 10 and averaging out with some final personal adjustments, I'd say Jubilee is definitely worth the listen, and would give it the place of the best Dalek story to date, ranking it a 9 out of 10. Now this is my favourite story to date, but we have a lot more coming that I haven't listened to yet, so stick around to find out if they are better or worse, and obviously if they are worth the listen.